Hello everyone, welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM, and with the May 2026 SDS season finished, we have the rank 1 data here to analyze, and yeah, we're back for another meta-analysis of this season, and it's going to be an interesting one because there has definitely been some interesting new additions, interesting falls, drops, teams, etc. And yeah, super excited to get into it. Big shout outs to everyone that helped with the data collection. Couldn't do this without you. And yeah, if you enjoy this, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. All right, let's do this. So when it comes to this season, in terms of the captain skills, most people went with either Toxic Remedy or Earth Rendering. Heavy Burden, ever since the bug got fixed, with the gravity, is no longer that good, if I'm going to be completely honest. It's still useful at times, but especially on this map of bridges, where like there weren't as many choke points where the enemy team could go. It's not often the case where you can line up the gravity to have that impactful moment when you want it. So yeah, that's why Heavy Burden is definitely not used as opposed to Earth Rendering and Toxic Remedy. Those two were definitely the standouts and are used depending on which effects would benefit the team the most. Earth Rendering generally prefers like more like, I guess, stall-based teams, while Toxic Remedy, if you want like the obstruct and potentially a bit more damage. In terms of the bonus units, yeah, Leon is the only good one, so that's why most people use Leon. Yeah, Sombron, unfortunately, did not had a great debut despite being a bonus mythic, and yeah, he's not that good in SD. Just being a tank there, not even able to be saved, especially since these days, a lot of the tanky units like Valley, you can put Guardian on them, or like use the Guardian's assist on them to make them become a save. So the fact that Sombron can't do that is yeah, big oof. And then yeah, Haether's old and doesn't provide that good support. So yeah, Leon is the only one being used, and we'll talk about Leon more because obviously he had some really good usages. But yeah, speaking of the usages, we can get started on our top 10, and tied this time at number 1, we have Alphador and Sakura. As with the previous SD seasons, these two have been reigning at the top since I've been doing these videos. And yeah, it makes sense as to why Alphador spreads bonuses not only from your own team, but from the enemy team as well. So any bonus that the enemy has, but you don't, you automatically get them through Alphador. And so in that way, it can sort of like level the playing field if like you don't have as many bonuses compared to the enemy team. Like if your enemy has Snare while you don't, well, now you have Snare. So it sort of helps out with that, and obviously is super, super powerful with the very powerful bonuses we have, like Snare, like Gallop, and especially with this current map, with the trenches, getting terrain bypass as well, and having Alphador spread that to, say, cavalry units like Lyn is also really, really good. So that's just even more incentive to use Alphador. Because of the current map, terrain bypassing and spreading that bonus is really good, which means Alphador benefits even more from that. And then yeah, Sakura, as always, salvage, still has no counter. I mean, I guess technically we have the grass, but let's be real, that's not really a counter. And it really helps with being able to retreat your nukes, because before Sakura, one of the biggest concerns was that you had to pay attention to whether or not you actually want to move your nuke in to attack the enemy, because if you can't cancel them out, then obviously the enemy can get the counter kill. So you have to pay more attention to whether the trades are beneficial. Sakura here with the salvage negates that. You don't have to trade. You can just retreat them all the way back to safety. And now with the addition of BYLETH ring, you can even dance that nuke again and then go in again. And since the BYLETH ring dance re-enables Kanto, that nuke can still go all the way back with the salvage. And so yeah, Sakura right now is just insanely strong. Being able to protect your units obviously is the name of the game, and Sakura does that magnificently. The only issue previously with Sakura is that she didn't really have any ways to allow nukes to go in. So it relied on nukes having like that huge range to be able to get in to attack the enemy in the first place. But obviously we have gotten a huge amounts of nukes with a lot of range, like with Lin. Yunaka was the OG one. There was also Erica, Claude, and even like other 3-range styles like BYLETH and the like that just, those units can easily go in, and now Sakura can help them go back. And so, yeah, Sakura, obviously, understandable why she is tied at number 1 here. And at number 3, this is the first new unit of this batch from the Fallen banner. This is Fallen Male BYLETH. And yeah, Fallen Male BYLETH not only hits really, really hard, but is also actually really tanky with the huge amount of damage reduction he has in his special. The name of the game for BYLETH is that with the shared spoils, you want to have him go in, attack someone with a shared spoil so he can Gale Force, and then attack another unit, and then go out. The thing that makes him work is the fact that he has that 3-range style. 3-range style is the most effective nuking style we have because obviously it just extends your range, and it also gets past ice. Ice is generally like laid out within 2 spaces of the target unit that has the ice applied on them. So obviously BYLETH with the 3-range can outrange that ice to still be able to attack the enemy. And so BYLETH obviously has some really strong nuking power here. Obviously also in combination with reflex, there's a lot of reflex options now, like from Peony, like from Mia in the past, before Peony. And so yeah, BYLETH is just really, really good because one of the main things nukes want to do these days actually is to be able to survive counterattacks. We've gotten a lot of tanky units that can counterattack really, really effectively, and on occasion they might also have reflex, so they can counterattack really, really hard. And so BYLETH being able to be so tanky to be able to survive those counterattacks allows him to get potentially a second hit in, the double and stuff. Whereas if you get counterattack, obviously, well, you die and not get the double and not effectively nuke. And so, yeah, BYLETH here being very strong, being very tanky. Normally, the Gale Force in the shared spoils would be a problem, but BYLETH is about tanky enough that he can just afford to just sit there in the midst of the enemy, and you have general confidence that he'll be able to survive. Obviously, it's not foolproof, and sometimes he does fraud, but most cases it's consistent, especially if you pair him up with either Lucina support or Valley support with the Miracle. But yeah, that's why he's at number 3. And then at number 4 and number 5, I'll just treat these two as the same. We have the Heimdallr. And yeah, I don't think anything needs to be said about these two. These two provide snare. Snare is still the most effective way to protect your own units because obviously with saviors, saviors can die from a really powerful nuke, and we have gotten a lot of powerful nukes in the past year-ish. And so obviously, if your savior dies, you're now limited to 4 units and not as many actions. Whilst with Heimdallr, it's guaranteed that they can't hit your units. Otherwise, their action gets ended, and now you have the action advantage. And so, yeah, Heimdallr is just the most effective protection, especially if you pair with Alphador or Chrom. They can spread that out to more units, so you have more protection. And yeah, that's why they're at number 4 and number 5. There's not a lot of ways to deal with snare. The most effective is probably Thor. To a lesser extent, Elise or a Lin Ring user, so there are ways to play around that. But it's not easy, right? You have to pay attention if you want to deal with snare. And so, yeah, it's still a very effective tool. Speaking of ending actions, at number 6, we have Leon. Yeah, Leon is the bonus, but that's not the only reason why he is this high up. Leon also has a really, really good team that allows him to play with his strength, because normally he doesn't really tank that, or not tank, he doesn't really nuke that hard, right? Like against pretty much any savior or even Valley or even BYLETH, like any real tank, Leon can struggle quite a bit. Thankfully, he is able to go around save since he does have the anti-savior effect in his perfs. But really, the main reason why you use Leon is for that end action that he has. What you do with Leon is that you basically use that anti-save to pinpoint the exact unit you want to take out. And through taking out that unit, you end the action of another one of the enemy's units that you also want end action. So you are still able to like be safe, because ideally the unit you end action is like the next nuke that would normally go in and get the counter kill. But if you play it right and like make sure that end action goes on the unit you want, the enemy opponent will be starved of actions and can't easily retaliate and get the trade. It is very, very tricky, which is why like Leon teams are very, very specific, and we'll see that when we go into the team trends. But if piloted effectively, Leon is very, very effective in that like denial type team. It's just really tricky because again, like if you miscalculate the speed checks, or you end action the wrong unit, or like you go in at the wrong time and there's like multiple units that could go in, like the entire team can fall apart. So yeah, using Leon is very tough, but obviously if you are really good at it and can pilot effectively, it is very rewarding to do so, and that's why he's here at number 6. At number 7, we have Lin. Lin is definitely the best three-range cavalry unit of the batch. The other ones are like Claude and Erica. To a lesser extent, I guess you can count Celica and Brave Male BYLETH, but not really, they're not cavalry units. And yeah, the reason why Lin is the best of them is because she has built-in feud, which is insanely strong because obviously we have Valley Miracle support running around, we have Lucina Emblem support going around, we have Lucina Ring going around, we have so many drive supports that Lin just innately able to disable all that, be like, no, I'm attacking you 1v1 Final Destination style. Obviously has a huge boost to her damage because you don't have to deal with the drive supports or anything for the tank you are taking out. It's not just that, of course, like again, she has the 3-range style so she can get past ice, and combined with Alphador potentially giving gallop or extra movement to Lin makes her effectively have like 8 range or something, which is absolutely ridiculous. The only problem with Lin is that she has Canto remaining, so it can be hard to use that huge range to allow her to retreat all the way back. But so obviously one of the biggest partners of Lin is with Sakura, right? Like I think if you go to the unit companions here, Sakura is by far, okay, not by far, because obviously you want either extra movement or gallop on Lin through Alphador. But like obviously Sakura is the biggest partner for Lin, and it makes sense. The two are very, very synergistic. Lin provides the huge range to be able to go in, but has Canto remaining, so normally would be stuck there, but Sakura with the salvage allows Lin to retreat all the way back and be safe. And so yeah, it is the combination of the two that makes this particular Lin the best 3-range cavalry nuke we have. And yeah, that's why she's here at number 7. At number 8, we have Thor. Thor's still like putting in a lot of work. Like ever since her debut, I'm pretty sure she's been in like at least the top 20 at the very least. Here she's in the top 10, same as the previous season. And yeah, when I was talking about Alphador, that we have a lot of bonuses right now that are really powerful, like salvage, snare, gallop, etc. Thor, with a single press of a button, can instantly negate all of that, right? You can deny the opponent's gallop, deny the protection from snare, deny being able to move back with salvage. She is just like the ultimate anti-meta unit, able to like counter all these meta bonuses that we have. The only counter to her is Tiki. But as we can see, it's not likely that you'll run into Tiki. Like, it's not an insignificant chance, which is why she is only at number 8 instead of like higher up. But still, it's not like you'll run into Tiki that often. And even if you do run into Tiki, well, you can just ban her, right? This is SDS. And so Thor being able to deny all the BS that the enemy team has obviously makes for a very, very compelling use case for Thor to put her on your team. This particular map also, I think, is also really good for Thor because you can just put Thor on like the far end of the formation, and then you don't even need Strat Assault or extra movement. You could just move her 2 spaces, and then immediately with the 5 rows, 5 columns button range, you can immediately deny all the buttons, all the bonuses on the enemy team at turn 1. That button range is huge. And so, yeah, Thor still being really, really good at number 8. You love to see it. Hopefully she can continue her reign. We shall see. All right, number 9, we have Chrom, back from like the depths from last season. But yeah, Chrom actually found a lot of new life on Leon teams. Because like a lot of people pair Lyn with Alphador, as you saw in the previous tab, to give her like extra movement and stuff like that, and gallop, and potentially terrain bypassing because of the trenches. Chrom is generally the partner with Leon, because with the combination of Chrom and a Heimdallr, Chrom can get the snare from Heimdallr and then pass that on to Leon, and then that provides like the defensive end action that allows Leon to basically like play it slow and selectively pick out the unit Leon wants to take out to get the offensive end action on the correct enemy unit to be able to do that safely. And so Chrom is just a really good partner in spreading those like snare bonuses, and not just snare bonuses, but other bonuses as well to Leon. Obviously, Chrom is not completely tied to Leon. Like if we go here, it's only used half the time with Heimdallr and Leon, right? So it's not completely tied. There are obviously other like playstyles for Chrom. Chrom, again, is another bonus spreader like Alphador to a lesser extent, but you can still spread the gallop. You can still spread the snare even without Leon to just whatever unit you want. You can spread extra movement. Bonus spreading is just really good at the bonus meta we have right now. So yeah, Chrom filling in for Alphador on the other teams where Alphador is not present makes sense. You know, it's like the one commercial, why not both, right? So yeah, that's why Chrom here is at number 9, and tied with number 9, we have New Year's Valley. And yeah, New Year's Valley has the miracle support, obviously, which really helps with survivability, not just for like defensive tanking, but also for offensive nuking as well. I talked a bit about this with when I was talking about BYLETH, but having your nukes being able to survive the counter hit is starting to get really, really important, so that the nuke can get the full like double or full quad or full like potent hit or whatever, right? Because if the unit you're attacking into counterattacks after the first hit and kills your nuke, even if you double, you only get that first hit if you die in between that, right? And so you're not using the nuke's full power with that double. And so Valley providing the miracle support obviously is really strong for that. In addition, obviously, she literally cannot die on the first combat with very, very few exceptions. And so this makes her extremely reliable as like a frontline tank to be able to apply threat. And not just apply threat, but be an obstruction for the enemy to be able to get in, because they have to make sure that either they can survive Valley or maneuver around her threat range, which is really difficult to do. Obviously, Valley is not the strongest nuke, but she is decent enough that the enemy does have to keep that in mind. And so, yeah, it's not the easiest to move around Valley. And so she does provide that frontline obstruction really well. Not only that, she is able to like go in and pop the snare relatively safely, because you know that she will be able to survive in most circumstances. So she's a really good snare popper in that regard. And yeah, that is why she's here at number 10. Some honorable mentions, of course, is Veronica to provide the feud. And we also have some new units. Like, obviously, we talked about BYLETH. We talked about Leon as newcomers from the previous SDS season. But we also have Peony, who basically stands in for Mia, essentially. Peony is essentially Mia if she can dance. I think that's like the best way to put it, because she provides the reflex. She can have all the melee flyer skills, and she dances and re-enables Kanto. And even though we have BYLETH ring, there is only one BYLETH ring, right? And so the re-enablement of Kanto after the dance is just a really powerful snowballing effect, or like a snowballing action that, especially for teams that rely on a single nuke, you really want a dance that re-enables Kanto to continue the steamroll. And Peony being able to provide that and the reflex, not just at when you dance, but also at the start of turn, is really, really strong. Halloween Peony had the issue where you only get the reflex on the dance. And so this Peony fixing that issue by allowing it to be also at the start of turn in addition to in the dance means that you get it immediately, so it's not as slow as Halloween Peony. And also, if you get your bonus cleared or whatever, you can just reapply it with the dance. And so, yeah, obviously, Peony here being Mia but dance and re-enables Kanto automatically makes it good. Air also has a really nice usage, especially considering she's a 4-star special. Yeah, we were talking about that when I did the bridal reaction, but Air basically filling in for Emir, like base dragon Emir, cavalry dragon Emir, providing that cleansing is really strong. Cleansing is so good right now. There is a lot of debuffs, a lot of sabotage, a lot of penalties, a lot of frozen, etc., that, you know, just debilitates your team. So Air being able to provide that cleansing, and not just cleansing, but also the action economy and really, really good support and nuking capability as well. She has quite a bit of true damage, believe it or not, which, I mean, she's not the strongest nuke in the world, but she can service as a secondary nuke really, really well. So it makes it easier to slot her in as opposed to, say, Emir, who literally can't do anything else besides cleanse and maybe have like barricade or something, or potentially other C-skill support. Talking about C-skill support, though, I do wish that Air's perf is not the C-skill, because if that was open, there's just so many options for C-skills that would make Air even better. But I guess we can't have it all, I guess, unfortunately. The other new unit, as of note, would be Tibarn. Fallen Tibarn actually is really strong. First of all, he can like apply frozen 3 times. You have the start of turn, and then you have his first action, and then his second action, which is kind of ridiculous and makes it extremely hard for the enemy to not be frozen. And frozen is one of the most debilitating debuffs there is right now. Like, not manipulating the fact that you can't double as easily means that, especially against nukes that rely on doubling or rely on speed, their damage output is very, very limited. There's that. He's also like extremely tanky, so he is able to go in and like relatively safely stay there without having fear to get counterattacked. There's like very few things that can take out Tibarn. It's kind of crazy actually how tanky Tibarn can get, but yeah, it's very effective in that, and also as like a temporary secondary melee nuke, or even like the primary melee nuke. But yeah, Tibarn is really, really good, especially on like beast type teams with Happy and Nerthus. We'll talk about Nerthus later. But yeah, you love to see Tibarn making a splash with the frozen and the tankiness. You love to see it. So yeah, those are the unit usages. When we compare this to last season, there were a couple of movements. The first I want to talk about is the valleys. The valleys here are like in lower positions than they were last season. I think New Year's Valley went from number 5 to number 10. or from 82% to 64%. Meanwhile, Mythic Valley kind of got it worse because she went from number 9 to number 18 now, or 71% to below 50%, 40%. So that's actually a pretty big drop for the valleys. I think that's because, one, with the rise of Emblem Lucina, people are slowly but surely integrating Feud more and more and more. So her miracle support is not as prevalent. And also, again, Valley has been such omnipresent threats that people are starting to spec into being able to deal with valleys. And so she is starting to lose her effectiveness just because people are trying to prepare for her. Obviously, it's not easy, which is why they're still relatively high, all things considered. But yeah, they are starting to see that drop. What is even a bigger drop is Balder. Balder went from number 8 to number 13, or 71% to 53%. And the fact of the matter is Balder is not as strong as is her heyday. Like, we've gotten a lot more powerful nukes than Balder, like BYLETH, like Lyn, like Leon, and they have all a lot bigger range than Balder, right? Balder only has 5 range with the Heavenly Soar, not even like built-in warping or anything like that. And obviously, BYLETH and Lyn especially have 3 range styles, whereas Balder's only melee, which means that you can play it so that she can have trouble getting through the ice if you play it right and stuff like that. So really, the main thing she has is tankiness, but she unfortunately is not as tanky as she used to be with the rise of more stronger nukes. Like, if you compare this to BYLETH, I think like Balder unfortunately is just not as tanky as BYLETH, with BYLETH's damage reduction, and so yeah, we're starting to see that drop. Enough about drops, though. We have a rise I want to talk about, which is Chrom. Chrom rising from number 17 to number 9. You love to see it, from 43% to 64%. I'll be honest, I think most of this comes down to the fact that he is used with Leon. The Leon pasta got a lot of traction, and so I do think that boosted his usage quite a bit, so that he's now at number 9. That's, I guess, all it comes down to, right? Like, it's interesting that a single unit that is very synergistic with Chrom can like push Chrom up to that extent. I mean, obviously, like I talked about, bonus sharing is really powerful, and so Chrom was always good. But yeah, now that he slots in relatively easily with a team, you are starting to see him more and more. And I guess that's like ultimately the real rationale behind usages, right? Like how easy it is to slot this unit into the team. And Chrom now has a team he can call home. And so, yeah, you'll love to see it. Icthanir here is at number 21 now. He was previously at number 12. So yeah, last season we did see a lot of Icthanir balls, especially with Lucina support and the like. We don't really see that often this season, right? Like, he went from number 12 to number 21, or 64% to 31%. So that's over a 30% drop. And I think the fact of the matter is that we've gotten units that are tanky enough that they don't really need saves to protect them, right? Like, BYLETH doesn't need saves to be able to protect himself because he is tanky overall. Like, I used Fallen BYLETH on an Icthanir ball, and honestly, I feel like I had more confidence in BYLETH surviving than Icthanir surviving, which is interesting. So like, even with Lucina support and Valley support and the like, there is not as much of a reason to use Icthanir. In addition, because of Lucina Emblem and to a lesser extent Valley support, people are running Feud more and more and more. And so because people are preparing for that, the Icthanir balls that rely on Lucina Emblem support and potentially Miracle support are less effective, which means Icthanir balls themselves are less effective. And so yeah, that is the reason why we are seeing this drop. Likewise, that's why Tharja dropped from number 16 to number 30 here, or 56% to number 22%. And that just goes with hand in hand with Ichthynir balls. Tharja was one of the primary magic saves for Ichthynir balls, and so if Ichthynir drops, then Tharja drops. Just makes sense. We also have some other drops. There's a lot of drops because we had quite a few units that are new that we added, and also some rises as well. We talked about 3-range cavalry units with Lyn, but where are Claude and Erica, the other ones? Well, they're all the way down here. There's Claude. Wait, where's Erica? There's Erica. So yeah, Claude went from number 11 to number 38. Ouch. And from 64% to 15%, that is almost a 50% drop. 49% drop, exactly. Ouch. Meanwhile, Erica went from number 15 to number 42, or like 58% to 12%. I'll be honest, I don't know why they dropped that much. Honestly, I think the reason is because of the map, right? Like, this is a map that is not that great for cavalry units, right? Like, we have the trenches, we have the trees, and so cavalry units will obviously suffer quite a bit because of that. There is terrain bypass, but really, there's only one Alpha door. So unless you want to run something like, I don't know, Arlen or something, which is like pretty much a dead slot. Basically, there's only one cavalry team that can receive the terrain bypass to get through trenches. And because Lyn is the best one, people are just by default going to use Lyn and not use Claude or Erica. And instead of Claude or Erica, they'll probably use some other team that is not a 3-range cavalry unit. That's just like a lot more effective without having to worry about terrain bypass and things like that. So yeah, just because of the map, we see these have a huge drop. I would expect them to recover some of their usages in the next map if it's more cav favored. Obviously not to the same extent as where Lyn is right now, but probably like some mid-range table, probably. But yeah, really big drop. Yeah, and that is one of the issues with cavalry units, right? Like, a bad map could render them really ineffective. And so you gotta even with the 3 range that they have. And so, yeah, that's always the risk you have with cavalry units. All right, the last one, I didn't want to talk about it, but I do have to talk about it. It is Emblem Lucina. Emblem Lucina dropped from number 6 to number 14, or 81% to 46%. I guess this was sort of to be expected because obviously she's no longer bonus. Last season she was bonus, and so you are going to expect her to have a drop a bit. But I think because of the fact that Ichthynir balls basically dropped quite a bit, and Emblem Lucina performed best in Ichthynir balls or like ball type comps with Savior. Because those Savior type comps are not as prevalent this season, we are starting to see that drop in Lucina as well. And so, yeah, because again, BYLETH, Lucina Ring is generally enough, and even without, you can make it work. Other than that, we don't really see a lot of tanky units, really. I guess Baldur, but Lucina Ring and Baldur is not the easiest synergy in a team. And so because of this lack of tanky units, there's not as much of a need for Lucina Emblem, right? And so, yeah, that's why she dropped quite a bit from her bonus when you had balls everywhere. So yeah, it is how it is, though. We'll see how it goes for the next season. But yeah, those are the rise and falls for this season. All right, now on to the team trends. This season was interesting because while there were some pastas, it wasn't completely a set pasta list or anything like that. I guess we can start with the first one, which is the Lyn pasta. This normally has Alphador, Azura, Lyn, Sakura, and Sigurd. This one has the Plumeria variant as opposed to Azura. Doesn't really matter. I think Azura is slightly better because of the 2-range dance, but honestly, it's interchangeable, really. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, I mean, I talked about the Lin, Sakura, Alphador synergy before, but yeah. Lin provides the range, Sakura provides the salvage to be able to have Lin come back. Alphador is here to spread the gallop from Sigurd. So Lin can have 8 range and have that huge range. Interestingly, one thing to note is that Sigurd here runs Hexblade Sword instead of his perf weapon. This is because Hexblade Sword gives terrain bypass as a bonus to Sigurd, which allows Alphador to get that terrain bypass on himself at the start of turn, and then pass that on to Lin. So Lin has terrain bypass, which is really important because, again, this map is not that cav friendly, so being able to get by trenches with the terrain bypass is really, really good, right? And Sigurd, literally the only job Sigurd has is to be there for Gallop. And Gallop is not part of the weapon, it's part of his perf skill. And so, yeah, he's there to just give Gallop and look pretty and maybe pop the duel button if like the bonuses get erased by Thor or you need to charge Lin's special. So yeah. Also to note is that Azura generally runs Johanna lands to be able to give dodge to Lin. That is to allow Lin to tank most reflection damage against tanks, even if the special isn't pre-charged, because obviously on turn 1, there isn't enough time to pre-charge Lin's special. Otherwise, like, again, you can just pop Sigurd's duel button to charge Lin's special on demand. So yeah, that's the Hexblade tech on this team. Make sure you remember it. I ran a variant of this using Alphonse instead of Sigurd. Alphonse can run Hexblade Sword, so it's fine. But yeah, it's a really, really cool tech there. And yeah, basically, you know how Lin Sakura teams go. It's pretty basic. The next team pasta is one with Leon. We have Leon team here and like another variant here. This is basically the same besides the Heimdallr that is used. So really, this is just 19 total usages instead of 14 and 5. But yeah, this is very similar to the SDR Leon pasta, where the goal is to use Leon and his Savior bypass to selectively target units and then end the action of the other units on the enemy team to not be in danger, right? So Leon's Savior denial with the end action of the highest speed foe starves the opponent of attackers. This is especially the case if the opponent didn't speed tune, so theoretically you could have multiple units on the enemy team end action, which is really strong. Don't count on that though, obviously. And I mentioned this in the Leon, when I was talking about Leon in the unit usage section, but Leon doesn't have the best firepower. It's pretty lacking though, and can't kill a lot of things like most saviors. So the rest of the team really has to like build around that. Chrom, I talked about this, but is really synergistic. If you give him a high speed build, he can get kills on Valley, on BYLETH, and obviously with the combination of Heimdallr, he can receive the snare and then pass that on to Leon. And so you have multiple units with a snare, making it very difficult for the opponent to attack into you, while also facing the potential of Leon going in and disabling the enemy units proactively, right? Heimdallr provides the reactive end action, while Leon provides the proactive end action. Now, there are some differences between the SDR comp, mainly because in SDS you need to prepare multiple teams, so putting all your eggs in one basket isn't wise. So we don't have Alphador, we don't have Thor, they're gone to other teams. Instead we have Ivy and Robin. Ivy is here for good follow-up with the warping she is able to do, and also being able to clear the ice with the button, which is really useful for Leon. I don't believe Leon has a 3-range style, so obviously getting rid of the ice is more important compared to say like Lin or BYLETH. So yeah, obviously Ivy getting rid of the ice is really good because he doesn't have a 3-range style. So he is able to more effectively like select the unit he wants to take out without any obstruction. In addition, Ivy provides potent follow to Chrom, which is really helpful in Chrom's case because that means he can secure the direct kill on BYLETH. And With Leon's lacking firepower, Chrom is generally relied on to be the main tank buster, so giving potent on Chrom is obviously really, really good. Now, obviously, the biggest elephant in the room is Robin. What? Wasn't Robin's Refine and Remix bad? Well, not exactly. Robin is still really, really good with the grand strategy and his other support, right? And with the amount of penalties and debuffs and sabotages that we have, Robin is extremely useful at negating and reversing those penalties and debuffs. There's just so much debuffs that grand strategy is actually really useful. And this is especially true because no one really runs Ploy. Ploy is basically non-existent. So you don't have to worry about grand strategy not being denied or anything like that. Most of the time, the enemy has too many other things to care about than to slot in Ploy. Theoretically, you could use a cleanser from air, but Robin's support, the grand strategy and everything, just pushes the damage ceiling much, much higher because of the huge stat swings he can potentially have for Leon and Chrom. And so, yeah, that is why he is used instead of a cleanser like air or Micaiah Emblem, I guess. Emblem Micaiah. But yeah, you love to see legendary male Robin being used in a very, very highly used pasta. You love it. Go Awakening. The third pasta is the BYLETH pasta, and this is the one with the most variations. As you can see, BYLETH is here a lot with a lot of different variations, but we're going to be mainly talking about these two right here. But yeah, it is by far the most flexible because, again, the main thing you want to do with BYLETH is to have him go in, attack a unit with a shared spoil, Gale Force, attack another unit, and then retreat. So there's a lot of variations on the units that surround BYLETH to help him be able to do that. These pastas generally have Ike here to provide that frontline tank so that the enemy can't just go around BYLETH and target the supporting crew. So Ike allows BYLETH to more safely just go in and do his thing, while Ike here provides obstruction to protect the rest of the units. Peony here provides the reflex. BYLETH's damage reduction pairs really well with reflex, and so Peony being able to provide that is obviously really good. And of course, she can dance BYLETH, re-enable his Canto, so BYLETH can go in again and then retreat. And so yeah, obviously really, really nice synergy. A dancer re-enables Canto that can also provide reflex is probably BYLETH's best support partner. Veronica here provides the feud. Feud obviously is really, really strong with Lucina Emblem and Valley Miracle, and also Action Economy. Just really, really nice things. And then here we have the option of either Niffle or Ilian Minerva, or really anything really. Again, there's a lot of variations. Niffle here provides Frozen, which is again one of the most debilitating debuffs on the enemy and allows BYLETH to nuke even harder and survive a lot more things. But also Niffle provides the ice protection around BYLETH, so you can potentially smite him in or rally to get the ice so that he can only be reached by 3-range style units or warping melee units. And most of the time he can survive that, so yeah, especially with the Frozen support. Minerva is another option for Frozen and potentially a secondary nuke with the flyer skills that you can pass on using the Mia manual we got. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the team. Again, pretty straightforward. BYLETH just goes in and Gale Force sweeps, essentially. Other than that, though, again, as you can see, there's really just those 3 teams. The 4th team, there's a lot of variation when it comes to that. I've seen people do Balder teams, here. This is a type of Balder team where Balder is the main captain that goes in and does her thing. You also start to see Nerthu's beast teams, with Nerthus, Tibarn, even Ninian. Nerthus is actually really, really strong. She has a really good refine and remix. She is so tanky and hard to kill that it is very easy for Nerthus to just go up to the enemy and stare at them in their face. And then also obviously use her power to take out units and retreat, and then potentially get dance and do that whole thing again. I have actually seen quite a bit of Happy with Nerthus and Tibarn. It's sort of like a beast equivalent to like Sakura teams. And so, yeah, that is why we also start to see like Happy being used here as well, because of Nerthus and Tibarn. And obviously 4-Beast, being a Sakura 4-Beast just pairs really well with those type of Beast type teams. So yeah. So yeah, those are the team's trends. When it comes to the regional trends, we can start with the CN community. The CN community does not like Valley. In case you haven't seen from the pastas, but Valley features in none of the common CN pastas you see. So that is why we see that like drop in terms of the CN community, because the CN community are the ones that primarily create those pastas. And so if Valley isn't in those pastas, then Valleys won't be used as often. They're not that big fans of like Masked Marth, Hilda, although like this is pretty low, so it's not as big of a deal. They're not as big as fan as Elise. Again, Elise is not that big into the pastas, and also Elise is a lot kind of awkward to use on this map. Like the range that she has is not as big to effectively take out units on this particular map just due to the layout. So yeah, we see less usage of that there, especially in the pastas. They are not big fans of Lucina. Like you see here, like 50%, 50%, 8%. Like, wow, literally only 2 users in the CN community of Emblem Lucina. Why they gotta be haters? Oh my gosh. Meanwhile, they are really, really big fans with Sigurd. That makes sense. Sigurd featured in the Lin pasta, especially with the Hexblade tech. Same thing with Azura. Azura featured in the Lin pasta, and so obviously you will have higher usage rates in the CN community because of that. And also, I want to show this, but Robin had 79% usage rate on Legendary Robin. Like, that would be higher than the Heimdallers here. Like, wow. I mean, that just goes to show the power of Robin in those particular Leon pastas, right? It's crazy how big of a niche Robin has in those type of teams, and so how much like prevalence he has in this particular community. It's really cool to see, actually. In terms of the Japanese community, they are where is it? I saw it here. Yeah, this one's a bit more spread out, but they like where is it? Oh, they like Fjorm a bit. They like Loki a bit. Not like a lot bigger than the other regions, but you know, they like it. Same thing with Tiki to a lesser extent, but they do not like Ivy. Like we go from 41.75 to 26. Yeah. Same thing with Crom and Thor. I've noticed that like the Japanese community is a lot more spread out. So like if like there's a particular unit that is very suited in a particular team, there's less likely to have a high usage in a JP community because again, it's just a lot more spread out. So I think that's why we see those trends, because like again, Crom is generally here for the pasta. Same with Ivy in that Leon pasta. And so yeah, Thor doesn't have a pasta, but so I guess like the Japanese community just does not like Thor, which I guess sort of makes sense because they are more likely to use Tiki than the other regions. But yeah, interesting at the very least. And then when it comes to the EN community, they are big fans of Hilda and Icthanir. Icthanir balls are still relatively common in the EN community. The EN community is generally the slowest to move when it comes to like meta movements. So them still using Icthanir balls as like a sort of holdover from the last season kind of makes sense in that sense. Same with Hilda. Hilda was a relatively popular support, and so yeah. last season. Meanwhile, they are not the biggest fans of Leon, Peony, or Sigurd. Although not really Sigurd, like it's really just the CN community that really likes Sigurd. But Leon and Peony having lower usages makes sense because, again, the EN community is generally slower to adopt the latest trends. And so these two units being relatively new means that in the EN community, you won't see them as often. And yeah, I think that's it when it comes to the regional trends. And so yeah, that does it for the analysis of the SDS Rank 1 data for this May 2026. Always very interesting. But of course, that is not the final thing we have to do because we have the top 3 least meta, aka free thinkers. This is not it. This is just the EN community. But basically, we have this little ranking here that we use to tally up how quote unquote meta a player is. And so yeah, it basically just adds up the usages of all the units you use and then like averages it all out. And so yeah, we have the top 3. Starting at number 3, we have Shijima. So Shijima is back at it with the Arcanea-esque theme teams. You love to see it. We have Navarre, which I'm pretty sure is Shijima's like favorite character or something because I have seen Shijima use this Navarre in SDR as well. Tiki, I guess technically counts as Arcanea. Minerva, Vero for the feud, and then Riss. Riss can just apply Guardian and it's go time, honestly. That's basically his entire job. Or Ice Lock, I guess. And then we have this Malice, Tiki, Sita, Peony, Lena team. It's interesting to see Lena here. You don't really see Miracle supports other than Valley, but I guess without Valley, you have to make deal with Lena. Same with Maria. On this one, we have Sita, BYLETH, Fina, Alfred. So a lot, like 2 of them, not from Arcanea, but I guess it's fine. This is why he's not number 1. And then we have, I think personally, the star and the team Shijima uses the most. It's the Mythic Medius, Leon, Plumeria, Corrin, and Loki team. I've seen this Mythic Medius in SDS matches replays. Like, it's actually legit and very tanky and hard to deal with. And so, yeah, this team is definitely legit. Congrats to Shijima for being number 3. Most free thinker, least meta player. All right, at number 2, we have Sadie. Seti? I think it's Seti. Yeah, I do apologize if I mispronounce it. But yeah, Seti here did a really cool thing, and that is did a challenge run. They did an Awakening restriction challenge run. Basically, all the units they used have to have an origin with Awakening. And so, yeah, we see here, Lynn has an Awakening origin because of Lucina being in the backpack. Then Crom, Lucina, Tiki, Robin. Like all these are Awakening. Honestly, all of them would be pure Awakening if it wasn't for Lynn, but that's why Seti isn't number 1. But yeah, I mean, this is basically a Lynn team. Like, you can definitely make Lynn work just as is, especially if you combine it with Tiki and all that sort of stuff. Noir here, I feel like, is actually very underrated. Noir with Anathema allows you to actually have a very strong team. And then Lissa being a magic save with the Guardian also is really nice as well. In this team, Morgan, I've seen Fallen Morgans like pop up here and there on SDS teams. With the melee skills that we have, Morgan can actually be a really good flyer nuke. And so, yeah, especially with the Marth support and favor support, especially with Crom passing in the bonuses. Tharja as well. Maribel, I think, is just there for Ice Lock and Dance potentially. And then this last team, I suspect, might be a throwaway team. But like Cordelia could service with the melee flyer skills we have. Severa, I guess, can like nuke somewhat effectively. Priam there for frontline. Same with Naga and Myrrh. But I do suspect this is a throwaway team. But yeah, it's amazing to see Awakening theme teams in SDS. Go Awakening fans. We are the best. But yeah, congrats to Seti on number 2. most free thinker, least meta player team. And then at number 1, we have Alpen, aka Blue Pen, and they are back with the Ingrids. And so yeah, this is a slate that uses all the Ingrids we have so far. And yeah, very, very cool to see, honestly, using their favorite units and all of the alts of their favorite units. We have Tea Time Ingrid, still really good with the reflex, by the way. I just want to say that. Micaiah for cleansing. Soth, I think, is a bit underrated. Like, he can pack a punch. And then Tanith and Marissa can run the melee flyer skills. This team, obviously we have Erica here, who I believe is the primary nuke, but Ingrid can suffice it with Arch Rival and reflex support from both Bia and Black Knight. Black Knight is here for the save, and Astrid can provide the support and potentially another nuke as well. For this one, this is definitely Thorin Ball. Ike here is saving, Alencia Legendary for warping, Tsunaki for like main nuking, and then Ingrid being a melee flyer and potentially another tank as well. And then this last one potentially might be a throwaway team, but maybe not, because Summer Ingrid could just run the melee flyer skills. Same with Young Rearm Ingrid. Honestly, Young Rearm Ingrid could pass the skills to Summer Ingrid. Same with Jill. And then Alencia can provide like a frontline and warping support. So yeah, either way, really, really good to see all the Ingrids being used. And yeah, congrats to Alpen and Blue Pen for being the number 1 most free thinker, least meta player of this season. Congrats. And yeah, that about does it for this analysis. Hopefully you all enjoyed this. It was a really interesting season, and I'll be interested to see whether these trends continue for the next SDS season. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. And yeah, let me know down in the comments how you did on your SDS season. And thank you all so much for watching, and see you all next time. Bye, everyone.